You're watching Taste the Victory.
Hey everyone, we are now fully into the swing of things with BT12, and we got two big results to look over for the BT12 format, introducing decks like Beelzemon, Hunters, and updates to Red Hybrids and other old decks. So, thank you to Eggman, whose new website is phenomenal, providing data for us on deck lists, not only on the actual top 16 list, but now actually including the total of all decks in that tournament, which is invaluable for data and analyzing past sets and stuff like that. So, thank you so much to Eggman for providing all this data and his whole team for making this all possible. Shout out to them and throw them a sub their way if you haven't yet. Let's go ahead and get into this now. First up with the first tournament that was big of BT12, which was PPG's case tournament of the set. It was 55 players total, and we see here their top 16, with Beelzemon actually taking literally over half of it with 9 placements of it. So Beelzemon was the deck hyped up by every player, every YouTuber, and for good reason. To be fair, since this was the very first event of this season, at least on this scale of over 50 players, people may have not been as prepared for this deck going into it and may have been underestimating it, thinking stuff was exaggerated, so they weren't ready to counter some of the plays and stuff like that. So maybe that's why this ended up having such a good representation. But anyways, you have 9 Beels in first place. Then we have 3 Hunters, which is pretty cool. 1 Red Hybrid, 1 All Fourth, 1 Black Greymon X, and 1 Cross Heart. Beyond Beelzemon, we actually do have a decent variety after that. 1 Red Hybrid, 3 Hunters, which kind of lines up with a lot of people's prediction that it's going to be like Beels, Hunters, Cross Wars, and then maybe a Red Hybrids as the top decks that are going to be duking it out between each other, and everything else is second place. So that does kind of line up with that. Let's go ahead and look at the Beelzemon list very quickly. Just a quick glance at all of them, because Beelzemon is part of a starter deck. A lot of it is really kind of spelled out for you and builds itself. So the only really variations are in tech choices. So let's go ahead and see if there's anything crazy differing between all of them. One of the big differences that people argue about is Yaman as an egg versus Pagumon as an egg. Personally, I ran Pagumon. I got 37th at this week's past regional. You know, good result, not happy with it. I want to get my top 16, but we're getting there. And I really liked the Yaman because being able to quickly on every swing fill up that trash so much earlier is huge for making big explosive plays as early as you can. But Pagu definitely has some very good interactions with the deck as well. And you don't deck out as faster. So we have 2 clusters here, which is a debate. A lot of people like 1 versus 2. I think 2 is indisputably the way to go with some of the protection, some rogue decks that do kind of have some decent leeway into you, like where Greymon and Machine Drummon have. So I think you always want 2 to get as much as possible disruption as you can on those. But otherwise, yeah, we got a pretty standard looking list here. The 2 Witchmon is interesting, and then the 2 Balmon X, but just really great for being able to mill more on Digivolution. No X antibody option, which is another thing people debate about, so that's really interesting there. I would actually be curious to see how many ran it at this event. Another one, the top 16 without it. Finally, we see 1 here. I was running 1 at the regional. I like the option a lot to be able to safely swing and guarantee lethal. So you don't get killed off of those first 2 checks with starter deck Beelzemon, and another one. So it's like 2-2 split of these top 4 that we were seeing right now. So that is interesting. Other than that, nothing too crazy, and that's about where the differences come. A lot of these seem to have not been on Mist Memory Boost, and I can see why. I liked it in my time using it, but it's also a lot of times where like your mills are just awful and actually kind of screw you over because it was what you were looking for, or would have been nice to have drawn eventually. So 1 there, I think that's pretty cool, and then the rest are there, 4th, 5th, and 1st place. So that's interesting there. Let's go ahead and take a quick peek at Hunters now. So 2nd place is actually Red Hybrid. Let's take a look at that first. Congratulations to William Blas. That is awesome. The Red Hybrid got 2nd place in this event because it is a really fast explosive deck. This looks like about standard of what people see for these decks. The Yokomon egg is really cool to get that extra draw, but then we do have this one of Aldemon, which is basically another way to warp into this guy really fast. So it's really nice there to see that. And then we do have the 2 Gravity Crushes, a pretty spicy tech. I think people are picking up on this, and it's not as much of a spicy tech as it used to be. Like, people are really starting to see what good this card is. Like, it's great because it gives you that extra memory, and then if you win off of that, if that's all you needed to win was just that 1 extra or 2 extra memory, you don't care about paying it back at the end of the turn because you already won the game. So I do like this card a lot. 2, I think makes sense because, yeah, no security option really sucks. No effects in security, rather, but like, if 1 gets stuck in there, it's gone for good, so you want to cover for that. I do like the option of having it at 2. Pretty cool list there. Nice little tech choices there. And after that, let's go ahead and take a quick look at Hunters. 2 of them did make it into top 8, so it's not just the top 16 representation. We do get 2 Hunters that made it into top 8 specifically. We take a quick look at them here. So it looks like this one is running a lot more tech choices here because we have the one of Omni Shout, one of Ostamon. They're also running that. And then we have the Umon, or rather the Uamado. He's a purple tamer. He's basically the new U and Taiki put together into one card, but it can only be triggered by putting a purple card underneath it. 8th place to Warmon. A lot of people aren't a fan of that card, so I'd be really interested in knowing what they thought of it and how they felt with that, because he basically Digivolve 1, which I had included one of, I think, in my profile, because I like it as a little roadblock early in the game to set my opponent back to give me more time to set up tamers if I'm still digging or something like that. So I like it at 1. Looks like it did well for him at 8th place. And then he does have 2 of this option, which lets you Digivolve for the cost into one of the materials that is saved under your tamers. So it's pretty cool to see it at 2. It's usually like a 1 of tech when people do end up running it. So very interesting options there. And it does give you a little bit more flexibility. You don't worry about as much about putting certain things underneath it. That is top 8 there. After that, we go into the top 16, where we do see an Alt Force in 10, which is really cool because it did get the new Alt Force X, which helps it a bit. It has card effect. It has 1 Digivolving unsuspended Digimon or 1 of the blue tamers, which is basically another swing for only 1 memory. And then all turns once a turn, when this Digimon becomes unsuspended, if you have a blue tamer in play or this Digimon has All Force Beelzemon and Digivolution cards, return one of your opponent's Digimon with the lowest level in its owner's hand. So it also offers some disruption. It's really cool there. Nice addition to the deck. It also put one of the new option, Great Maelstrom, which is when you would use this card by placing one of your blue Digimon at the bottom of its Digivolution card of one of your other blue Digimon, reduce the play cost by 3. Main, return one of your opponent's Digimon to the bottom of its owner's deck. So more really great powerful removal. We also have Ranamon, which when Digivolving has jamming as one of your hybrids. So that's huge, honestly, especially with how many tamers they are running. They'd be able to Digivolve into this and then get an extra swing safely there, maybe still climb up as well and, you know, keep the stack going, and eventually unsuspending it with one of your tamers, or your arena rather. So really awesome to see that it was able to do this. And we are running the new security rookie, which is huge for the blue color. So very happy to see All Force doing that well. But that was PPG's case tournament event of 55 people. Let's go ahead and see this regional from Bandai that just happened. It was hosted by Core TCG, and we had a total of like 480 players. I want to say, yes, there it is, exactly 480 players. So that is huge. And we have top 16 deck list breakdown here. In addition to that, we also have a total of how many of each deck was represented at this event. We see that Beelzemon was by far the most popular deck at 118 total players, which makes a lot of sense. It is an easy to pick up accessible starter deck. It is an incredibly powerful starter deck where you only have to buy so much outside of the box to start making it work. And truth be told, is a fairly easy deck to play. I don't want to say it plays itself, but a lot of the skill just comes in the sequencing of your effect orders and making sure you're keeping an eye on your deck count to not deck yourself out. It's a pretty easy to pick up and play deck, which is great for accessibility. Then we have Hunters, that's second best representation, which again goes a lot with the meta predictions that people had for this set, followed by War Greymon, pretty accurate overall presentation. Red Hybrid, Black War Greymon X, separate from War Greymon, Machinedramon, All Force Gallant, Bloom Lord. I'm very surprised to see Machinedramon as well represented as it was, but it does have a chance into Black War Greymon. It's one of the better options. Once you've got it all set up, you have to hope that you are running double cluster and have them all in your trash and are able to get enough DP boost to get past a really well set up Chaos Dramon or Machinedramon and stuff like that. It is a thorn in the side to Beelzemon. It could get kind of annoying. Unfortunately, not much Dark Nightmon representation. There was a lot of excitement for it to be a very good counter into it, but I feel like Machinedramon just does what it does better, so we don't really see much of it, and we probably won't going in the future. So top 16 here tells a similar story to the PPG event, with literally half of it being Beelzemon X. To be fair, the PPG case tournament was only 55 players, but that is over half of it being top 16. This one is directly half of it being top 16, being Beelzemon X. I'm really curious. I believe the next regional is in 2 weeks, if I'm not mistaken. So I am very curious to see the results of that, because if this trend continues or goes any higher, we could be entering a tier 0 format. But I do firmly, truly believe that the more people get used to fighting this deck, knowing the ins and outs, what to stop, when to swing, when to maybe hold off, I really do think this deck is counterable. Hunters has a very okay matchup into it. A lot of people think it is super one-sided, but I think it's pretty favorable because you have a lot of good ways to stabilize. They need to be able to get that perfect high roll mill off of you to beat you in like 3 turns, or else you stabilize very hard in a way for them to clear. Huntress is really great. Red Hybrids is pretty fast and can sneak away with it just as well as Beels can. So it's really just who draws better into that matchup, I feel, a lot of the times. But Beelzemon being able to trash security is huge for them, so they don't have more follow-up plays. So I do give the edge to Beelzemon there. Crossheart is a very fast deck, so I'm very surprised to see that we didn't see much of it. And also, I think War Greymon is absolutely a great competitor into it. It has a lot of tools to stop it. It has a ton of protection. The problem is its costs are really high, and with the new Greymon X reduced to 1 because of the ban list, it's not as fast as it used to be. So if that thing was still around, it would be hard countering Beelzemon. But now it's just like a little less than equally matched. But again, I think the better you build decks and get used to Beelzemon, you'll be able to counter it with like Hunters, and maybe not hard counter, but you'll be able to keep up with it with like Hunters and Raid War Greymon. But yeah, half of it, so I don't think we're approaching tier 0 yet. Way too early to say, but it's interesting to see that it is absolutely living up to the hype. But Beelzemon, let's go ahead and take a look. Gene Flores, congratulations to them for their top first place. Then we have Dan Vang, the absolute GOAT of Digimon. Been playing since like BT4, maybe BT1. Love the dude. And let's go ahead and take the 4th place list and see how much they are differing. So this was like a week before, maybe 2. So let's see how much like things have developed in that time period. See, their first place is running that witch model. We now see the Beelzemon BT10 though, which is a fantastic option for going second. Beelzemon, and how it's standardly built, is a deck that really wants to go first. So then you're able to come out on your turn 2 and start milling stuff off of your When Digivolvings with Balmon from the starter deck. Going second really sucks because you are in a very awkward position of wasting your When Digivolvings or playing something else, something less optimal. So you usually want to go first. But Balmon now gives you a ton of fantastic going second options to be able to like digivolve into it, and you don't really care in breeding area, and then you come out and swing with it. You're still able to get those mills, so like it's a lot less painful going second with this deck. Other than that, very standard list. After that, I believe this is Dan Vang's in second place. Let us see here, we can confirm. Yes, this is Dan Vang. There is the 2 Wishmon again, and then the 2 Balmon. 1 Balmon X and an X antibody though for that X antibody package. Because yeah, when you have the chance to go for it, that package gives you lethal. Like it comes up, it makes it so much safer, so you don't have to stress as much. We do have the 1 missed memory boost. It seems like it's not too popular in North America, as the ones that are actually making it into top 16 are either on none, like the first place list, or are on a very low count of only 1. I was on 2 of them, and yeah, like 1 game it won me it. Other than that, it's just kind of whatever. And then after that's a pretty standard list, 4th place here, and once again pretty standard, except we are running the Ball X package here. So it seems it's up to personal preference. Both are able to compete pretty well. I think there's like very good arguments for either side, but yeah, that is a pretty standard list. At least for now, Beelzemon is pretty figured out and standardized. Let's see Jeffrey Kang with their 3rd place Black War Greymon list. Let's see here. So this is focusing on a Black War Greymon top end with the X antibody and the BT8 one, as well as also having the Raid War Greymon. But the really interesting thing we see here is Digimon. Yeah, dude, if those Beelzemon players aren't able to finish you off, this thing is huge to be able to just trash the last of theirs, the last 5, because that is obviously so many times. I have been at 5, and like that's what I have to pass, like around there. If they're not able to finish you off, this thing will usually be enough. That 5 will be enough. So that is a very interesting check choice there to see, like, if you have it there, if the opportunity arises, just guarantee win here. Just go into this guy and guarantee it. No need to risk the security or anything like that, because Beelzemon has very threatening security. We are still running the Cool Way package. Only 1 Yuya. But with all the other protection in this deck, I see it being understandable at only putting 1. Is very cool, interesting list here. I love that Digimon tech, and I would be very interested in hearing how much of that came up during the tournament. And then we have a very interesting top 16 rounding out here. We have a yellow hybrid that snuck into 6th, and a security control at 12th place in top 16. It's really interesting. I wonder like how much they differ. That you would actually call one yellow hybrids versus security control. Like is there actually that big of a difference now? Okay, yeah, it's a pretty big difference. There's a lot more options to this, so that is totally fair. Yeah, so this is a lot more yellow hybrid package. We see the Rapidmon there. This is a card that has fallen off. It used to be like 12 bucks, and now it's like $1, $2. It's probably going up now because of this top, but it's a very powerful card. This card was absolutely insane and stupid back when it came out. It's been power crept now since we've gotten into such a hide in the raising area meta, but it's an incredibly powerful card that clears so much of a board, especially paired with the rest of your DP minusing, like Cody, like your Tamers and all that. It's fantastic. I'm assuming the Venusmon put in a lot of work to help this deck top, because for that turn, you're turning them off completely, especially in Beelzemon, you're completely shutting off their turn. And then like even past the turn when you give everything security attack -1, that Beelzemon starter deck, which is the starter deck Beelzemon, which is one of their best playmakers, naturally, or rather very hard to not trigger the effect that gives a security attack +1. So this thing is going to be live every time as well, the Venusmon, again shutting off another turn. So you have to answer this quickly. And like what ways do you have to get rid of level 6s quickly? Like you have to hope you had enough trash before this thing came out to be able to Death Slinger it. Otherwise, you're going to have to spend the 7-cost options or waste your Beelzemon by going into Beelz X and triggering the thing from trash without triggering the security attack +1 first to be able to do all that. So this is super interesting tech choice. I think Venusmon is definitely underrated into Beelzemon. And I mean, it made top 8. I think we have an argument for it. It's very, very interesting. Congratulations to them very much. And we see the security control list here. It's really cool that they're running that May Crackmon Vicious mode there. And they have the Megidramon. Once again, people are thinking of the counter mill. I really like it a lot. Lots of recovery options. This is super interesting. And again, the thing I really like about Venusmon here is that like, by the nature of recovering in security control, by the nature of security control, you need pressure to be able to rip through security fast or trash it all very fast. So you're kind of forced to go into the starter deck Beelzemon. You have to rely on it, which this one shuts off anyway. So like it really puts you in between a rock and a hard place. It makes, yeah, so weird. Because like this is, Beelzemon is the deck that trashes all the security, but the security control decks seem to have been doing well into it with 2 of them in top 16. I definitely firmly believe it's just a matter of recognizing what Beelzemon can do and when, and building around that, playing around that, and we won't be entering a tier 0 format. But it did live up to the hype. It is an incredibly powerful deck that is easy to pilot, and it's very fun. Personally, I like it. It's like gambling. It's a little gambling simulating machine. It's really fun. I like it a lot. I do feel a little bad when your turn goes like crazy and it just feels like you're playing Yu-Gi-Oh again and your opponent's sitting there, but that's kind of just how it'd be sometimes. But that is what our BT12 English format is shaping up to be right now. I played 1 mirror in this entire tournament. I played all 8 rounds. I ended 37th, and I played 1 mirror the entire round. I do think we have a pretty diverse representation past Beelzemon. Like there are viable decks that are very close to like actually just being on the same level as this dude if they just had a little bit more support, or if Beelzemon was just a little bit more nerfed. But again, I think with certain decks building and gatekeeping more Beelzemons, other decks will be able to like dodge them and shine, and it'll be a pretty diverse format going forward. I truly believe that. I'm excited. BT12 is really cool, and I really am interested to see how it develops with how English players play. Until then, I'll see you guys in the next video. Let me know what you think of this format, and remember to stay hungry until you get a taste of victory.